All right, so now we're going to build a Ted McGrath garden bench. I'm going to use the same material that I used for the porch swing. So we're going to use clear redwood cedar. Right now I have 1x4s, 1x6s, and some 2x4s. So I'll take a picture of the cut list and the material list, and we'll get started. Okay, so I have everything cut out now. These are the pieces from the cut list. So what I do is I go ahead and mark them. So this is letter A. This board needs to be 5 1/4 inches wide, and so forth. So this is letter B. They're each 2 1/4, so I can get 2 pieces out of that one board. So next thing I'll be doing is getting the table saw out and ripping all those down to the correct widths. Okay, so for the front and back legs, you basically are taking 3 pieces and forming a triple lamination of these 1x. So finished width is going to be 2 1/4. So what I'm doing is using construction adhesive, putting these boards together, making one laminated piece. So this is a front leg, so I have those clamped. Let that construction adhesive dry, and then we will cut it to size all at one time. And then we're doing the same with the front legs. So this will make one front leg. Then I'll have to do it again for the other front leg. This one will make both front legs. That basically gets cut in half. So we'll get those going and I'll show you. Okay, I'm cutting out part C, which is the armrests. There is a diagram that you can kind of go by. Back here at the back is where it's going to meet the legs. The legs are 2 1/4, so this is 2 inches. So there'll be about an 1/8 inch offset right here on both sides. And then I just kind of, you can see the line I'm going to follow. Just kind of made this like a swoop. And then up at the top, for the rounded corner, I just put a quart-sized can on it and drew a line on the outside of it to give it the curve. So I'm going to cut those out. Those will be the armrests. I'm working on F and G now. They're the seat braces to hold the seat slats. And so I have the first one cut out. Looks like that. And then I'm just going to go ahead and trace that onto the other 3. And that'll be the 4 seat braces. Keep in mind, letter F is going to have a tenon on the end of it. So I'll make a tenon mortise. When we get to that, I'll let you know. Okay, so there's F and G, all 4 of them. What I did then is clamped them all together and then sanded them all at the same time so they're all level, so the seat slats will all be comfortable. So that's F and G, and we're moving on. Okay, I'm working on the back legs. Again, this is 3 pieces laminated together. So they're glued together now. And the back legs require a 10-degree bend in them. So what we have is 2 1/4 inches up to 16 inches, and then a 10-degree turn, and then 2 1/4 all the way up. And that'll give us our back legs. This will be the back, so so we're tilted back a little bit when we're sitting on the bench. So I'll cut those out and get them sanded. Okay, so I had two sections of laminated pieces together. The first grouping I went ahead and cut. I tried to cut it with a jigsaw, and the blade's not quite long enough to go through all three pieces, and I didn't like how the cut looked, so I scrapped that one. Did this one a little bit different. I did it with a jigsaw, but mark the template on both sides and use the jigsaw on both sides. So that one turned out a little better. So I redid the first one, which would be these three, and I went ahead and cut them out first. Now I'm going to put them together and laminate them this way instead of laminating them first. Then we should be able to move on. All right, finally have the two back legs done. So I think it was a little easier to do them first and then laminate them together. So that's what they look like. You can see the 10-degree slant going back where the back of the bench will be. And then these are the two rear legs. All right, moving on. I'm working on the tenon joints now, tenon and mortise joints. You got to do this with D, E, H, and F and J. So I have the half of them done, just using a table saw, setting the bit up as high as it needs to be. In this case, it's 3/8 of an inch on this cut. Just run it through, move the saw, the fence back, run it through, fence back, run it through. You got to go little by little, just as wide as the bit is. So this is a 1/4 inch bit, so I'm just going back a 1/4 inch at a time. These are 1.5 inches deep, whereas these smaller ones are just a 1/2 inch deep. So now I'm going to work on the sides and take all of the outsides off of all 7 of these. All right. So that gives us the tenon joint. Now I'll start working on the mortises. Okay, I'm making the mortises now. As I'm going along, I'm test fitting them and numbering them. So that's number 5 mortise, goes with number 5 tenon, and you want them tight. Enough to push in with your hand, maybe a little tap with a hammer. Not too loose, not super tight. So now I'm gonna cut this mortise here, which will be number 6. Okay, so this is pretty much what the side of the bench is going to look like without the seat slats and the arm. So what I'm doing now is planning out the mortise joints that are going to go on the leg braces. So I need to get a mortise joint here and here, and then also one here, and those will be the 3 long pieces that go across the bench that the seats and the back slats all hook to. So that's these three pieces here. So what I'm going to do now is cut out those mortises. Okay, so these tenons are 1.5 inches, and the longest router bit I had was 1 inch. So I had to go get a longer one. So I got this Diablo 2-inch bit. So this one looks like it'll do the job. Give me a bigger spacing also, so less passes by. So that sounds good. All right, here we go. Okay, I'm currently doing the dowel holes for the seat back. These are the seat back slats. So they're going to have 2 dowels in each one, and they're going to fit up in the top rail and the bottom rail on the back of the seat. So I'm using a Milescraft dowel jig. Has 3 different sizes. You basically pick your size, which for us is 5/16. You put it on the jig and twist it until both of these pegs here hit, and then that gives you the center, and then you just screw down right down into the slats. That puts them right in the middle, and then after that I'll mark the holes for the 2 top rails, and then that'll be it. Okay, so I'm laying out the top and bottom rails for the back, and I have my measurements marked out here where the 12 back slats go. The measurements they had in the plans didn't quite work out, so what I ended up doing is marking a middle point and then working out from there both ways. Turns out this is 2 56/64 of an inch in between every one, and that worked out exactly right for me. All right, then I went ahead and marked them, put the back slats up, marked where the dowels are going to go, and then I'll get the dowel jig out and put the guardrail on that and drill all these dowel holes, and we'll see what it looks like. Okay, there's the back of the bench. So I went ahead and just dry fit it. Put 3 clamps on it, pushed it together, everything looks great. One of these 2x4s is warped a little bit, so I really had to pull it in with clamps. So I'm hoping the glue that I put on the dowels will hold and keep it from pulling apart. Because if I were to take this clamp off, this board would come out and there'd be a 1/2 inch gap in here, maybe a 1/4 inch. So hopefully the glue will hold. Time will tell. All right, I have all the pieces dry fitted. What I'm going to do now is go ahead and round all the edges of all of the components. I have a 3/16 round over bit in the router, and I'm just going to run them through and get all the edges rounded. Then I'll sand them all on all the sides and then start putting it together for good. that's about it. And you can see it's a nice smooth edge now. And I'll go ahead and finish that now. Okay, I have all the pieces sanded down. I went ahead and glued the back together. So I put the dowels back in with exterior wood glue, glued it into the top and bottom rail, and also glued together the two sides. So I'm going to let those cure for about 24 hours. Then I will put them together with glue again and some dowel rods and some screws, and let that cure for another 24 hours, and then we'll put the seats on. All right. Okay, I took the clamps off. Everything's looking good. There's the seat side. So what I'm going to do now is dry fit the back rails. They go into these two holes. Make sure they fit before I glue them in. And then get the front rails on. And then from there I can just put on the seats, and the arms should be done. All right, so I have it all glued. I didn't have clamps long enough, so I just used some tie downs. These work great. Keeps everything tight. So that's glue is setting up, and I'll probably go ahead and start putting the frame in. These two frames for the seats. Lay the seats in. Put the arms on, and then the little corner pieces here. And then it'll be ready to dry for a day, and then I can sand it one more time and finish it. All right, I have the seat slats all put on tight. I used a little piece of wood to space them out. Worked out nicely. Now what I'm getting ready to do is put these tenon plugs in. So you have these little tenon plugs. They're going to go into the tenons of this piece here on the front and the back. So I'm going to drill a hole. These will slide right into the tenon, come out even, flush. Then I'll sand them. So that's next. And then the arms. Okay, I have the arms on. We have pretty much everything is done. So what I did after the arms is I went ahead and cut these tenon holes, and put those dowels in, so they go through the tenons of this piece on all four sides. And then I used a plug cutter, cut some plugs to fill in the holes where these screws are. So when this glue dries, I'll come back and cut them off and then sand everything. Sand these. And that'll be the final sanding, and then ready to finish. Okay, I got all the plugs shaved off and put a coat of linseed oil on. And I think we're done. So as soon as she dries, we can take her around back. Put her out with the swing. These are the plugs where the 3/8" plugs are that I cut. They look nice and flush and sanded. Okay, we're all done. Got her on the patio. Looks good. There's the bench. There's the swing from another video. Both cedar, both matching. Looks great. Another job done.